I'd like to call this meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, April 23rd, 2019. This is a Prescott City Council voting meeting. Mayor Pro Tem, do you have announcements?
I do. I'd just like to recognize someone that's in the audience. Officer Dave Fuller will be retiring very soon. And Dave, I tried to do what I could to stop it, but they just wouldn't let me. So.
Mayor Pro Tem, the only thing I'd like to correct is he's kind of been retired on the job for at least 6 months.
No, we've actually made him do double duty on some things, so we will miss you. That's for sure. So, Mayor, I'd also like to speak to House Bill 2318 was signed yesterday by the governor. So there is a statewide ban on texting while driving. And I'd like to also recognize, of course, our city council because we also adopted an ordinance, as did the county. But I will tell you, SIMPO, Central Yavapai Metropolitan Planning Organization, has been working on this for about 3 years. And so kudos to them and to us for being on the cutting edge. And I'm sure we'll cover this on the legislative agenda as far as the details. So just wanted to thank the governor for signing that bill.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. All right, we have an invocation by Pastor Mike Cool, Life Point Church, and then pledge led by Councilman Sischka.
Stuck in traffic. Is there a pastor in the house?
All right, we're going to do the pledge.
All right, please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Please call roll.
Mayor Mangarelli?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Orr?
Here.
Councilman Blair?
Yes.
Councilman Good?
Here.
Councilman Lamerson?
Here.
Councilwoman Scholl? Here. Councilman Sischka?
Here.
All are present.
Thank you for that. Proclamations.
First proclamation is for American Legion Centennial Day.
All right, fellow Legionnaires, you want to come up here and join me on the stage? How you doing, Slim?
Good morning. Hi, John. How are you? Hey, Muff. Good morning.
No, it's my particular
As little as possible.
honor and privilege to present this proclamation today, honoring the American Legion and my fellow Legionnaires. I've been a member of the American Legion for almost 29 years.
Thanks very much for doing this.
And American Legion was formed at the end of the war to end all wars, which was World War I. It ended in November of 1918, and a number of veterans gathered together in Paris the following March to put together an organization to protect veterans' rights. When you think about it, the Veterans Administration didn't exist. There were no facilities to take care of veterans. Fortunately for the city of Prescott, Fort Whipple was nearly abandoned and would have been non-existent if it hadn't been for serving the veterans who had received gas attacks during the war and almost an epidemic of tuberculosis. So Fort Whipple was retained and it was expanded to treat veterans. And of course, we enjoy it as the Northern Arizona Veterans Medical Center today. So this proclamation honoring American Legion Centennial Day, whereas the American Legion has been a staunch advocate for veterans and their families since its founding in 1919, and whereas the American Legion was founded on 4 pillars: care for veterans, a strong national defense, Americanism, and children and youth. And whereas since its inception, the American Legion has played a leading role in initiatives and breakthroughs that have affected the lives of Americans in every community, from the U.S. Flag Code to the GI Bill. And whereas in June 1919, the Ernest A. Love Post number 6 in Prescott was established, and since that time, the post has fulfilled the Legion's mission through programs such as Boys State, Boy Scouts of America, and School Awards for Scholarship and Citizenship. And whereas 2019 marks the American Legion's centennial celebration, now therefore Greg L. Mingarelli, Mayor of the City of Prescott, does hereby proclaim May 11th, 2019 as American Legion Centennial Day. Please recognize our American Legion veterans. Photo.
Thank you, sir.
And for those of you who attend the Prescott City Council, you'll recognize Mr. Perry, a 73-year consecutive member.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Good. Thank you for your service, gentlemen. We have Pastor Mike Coulis here, so if you want to please stand, we'll have our prayer now. Up here? You bet. You can use that mic.
Thank you, thank you. Let's bow our heads. Father, we thank you for another beautiful day, God. We thank you for the opportunity to be here together in this great community. God, we love our area. We love being here in the Prescott area. So God, thank you for this life that we live here now, God. As these proceedings take place, we ask, God, for your presence to be with us, Lord. We need your wisdom, God. You said that to be the greatest in the kingdom is to be the servant of all. We thank you for these public servants who are here today, God, giving their time and their lives to making this community what it is today. Lord, we need your wisdom today. I pray wisdom over these men and women. God, we pray that there would be unity, that the collective wisdom that's represented here, God, would make the best decisions with your guidance. Lord, we are quick to welcome you and to acknowledge you today here. And it's in Jesus' name we ask all this in. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. All right, let's move on to item 6B.
Earth Week 2019.
Good afternoon, everyone. It was an exciting weekend with all the Earth Day activities going on. I myself had the opportunity to work with Granite Creek Cleanup. We had 400 pre-registrations. Chief Black joined us, and then we had a couple hundred people more that came and we cleaned up along with Prescott Creek, so it was a great event. Who will be receiving the Earth Day proclamation? Thank you. Hi. Yes, great. Will you be speaking? I will. Okay, perfect. Good to see you. I know. Hi, Gary. Hi,
I'm Ellen.
It's good to see you.
I heard you on the radio. Thank you.
Gary.
Earth Day and Earth Week 2019. Whereas Earth Day was first celebrated on April 22nd, 1970, whereas the City of Prescott acknowledges the importance of Earth Day as a reminder of our community's connection to the health of our planet. Whereas the annual celebration of Earth Day, now Earth Week, seeks to involve all citizens in improving the local environment and becoming more aware of environmental protections. Whereas Earth Day and Earth Week are a reminder of the constant need for environmental education, stewardship, commitments, and community sustainability efforts. Now, therefore, the Mayor, Greg Mingarelli of Prescott, Arizona, does hereby proclaim April 20th through the 28th as Earth Week 2019. And yes?
Hi, I'm Patrick Grady. I'm with the chair of the Yavapai Climate Change Coalition and deeply appreciative of City Council's support for Earth Day and Earth Week. We have a number of events, some that have already been held, several continuing this evening on through next week. So we hope that you can join us because, as the proclamation suggests, the health of our planet is critical to all of us. It's a nonpartisan issue, and we hope that the education that we offer and the dialogue that we offer this week will be a benefit to the entire community. So thanks so much for your support of this important global celebration. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Let's move on to item 6C, please.
National Police Week.
Men and women in blue, come on up. We're gonna open our, we're done with this. I hope everybody's not gonna leave because this place can be empty. See, you're looking pretty spiffy. Look at that. Jason's bringing up the rear as usual. Come on, Dad. Okay, it's my pleasure to give this proclamation. It's the National Police Week, May 12th through 18th, 2019. Whereas the Congress and the President have designated May 12th through 18th, 2019 as National Police Week, and May 15th as National Peace Officers Memorial Day. And whereas the police officers of the City of Prescott play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens and visitors. And whereas the police officers of the City of Prescott have worked devotedly and selflessly on behalf of the people of the City of Prescott, regardless of the peril or hazard to themselves. And whereas their selflessness is shared by their families, who willingly accept the loved one's absence on holidays and special occasions so the community will be protected. And whereas these men and women, by their service and their dedicated efforts, have earned the recognition and gratitude of residents and visitors to our city. Now, therefore, I, Greg Mangarelli, Mayor of the City of Prescott, does acknowledge and dedicate the professional service given by these men and women who night and day stand guard in our community, and do hereby proclaim May 12th through 18, 2019 to be National Police Week. Chief? Yeah.
Sorry. Thank you, Councilman Blair. Mayor Mangarelli, members of council, we do appreciate this proclamation, but more importantly, we appreciate the support that you provide the men and women of the Prescott Police Department each and every day. Individually, we feel the support, and we feel the support for the work that we do. Michael Lamar, city manager as well, you have tremendous trust in us, and we feel that, and that allows us to do the work that we do. Mayor Pro Tem mentioned Dave Fuller, and he is down to 5 days? 5 days remaining on the job. But I also want to introduce Officer Serta and Officer Shugahara, who are just now reaching their first year completion on the job. So we've covered all the spectrums here. If anybody's worried about the streets being safe, they are. Most of us, many of us, about half of us work in the office. So there's some email not being responded to right now. The motor officers are returning to their bikes, to the streets in just a few minutes, so be warned. We really do appreciate everything that the city does in support of the Prescott Police Department. But in closing, our mission statement includes the words collaboration with the community. We don't do this by ourselves. We work in collaboration with nonprofit organizations, with other law enforcement and government agencies, but most importantly with the citizens of Prescott, and we couldn't be more proud to do so. Thank you.
You're amazing. Thank you. We will miss you.
All right, let's move on to item 6D.
National EMS Week.
See, there they all go. No place is vacant. No, they do.
Thank you. Who do we have here? I know, you guys picked me because I got a cane.
Well, no,
right?
I don't want to get hit with it.
Yeah, I know exactly why you guys did this. Anyway,
How are you?
I'm doing good. Good to see you. All right, you ready for this one, Chief?
Oh.
All right.
Press on.
Emergency Medical Services Week. Whereas emergency medical service systems consist of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, firefighters, educators, administrators, emergency nurses, emergency physicians, others, and whereas members of emergency medical services teams engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continued education to enhance their life-saving skills, and whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of the emergency medical services providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week, whereas this year's theme is Beyond the Call, members of medical emergency services teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And therefore, Greg L. Mangarelli, Mayor of the City of Prescott in Arizona, does hereby recognize the week of May 19 through 25, 2019 as Emergency Medical Services Week.
Here, here.
As Chief Black kind of alluded to, much like those professionals in law enforcement, those that serve the Prescott community in responding to emergency medical services, it's really a team effort. It takes cooperation from the community. It takes the interaction with private enterprise in the form of the ambulance company, the definitive care that's provided at the hospital. And through that effort and our law enforcement colleagues, we hopefully make the community much safer. Mayor Mangarelli, members of City Council, City Manager, thank you very much for your support. It's been very well received for the last 5 years that I've been here, and probably for the first 138 years of the Prescott Fire Department as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. Thanks, Councilman Lamerson. Let's move on to presentations.
Arizona Public Service Fire Mitigation Protocol Schedule.
Honorable Mayor and esteemed council, my name is Mackenzie Rogers and I'm the Northwest Division Manager for APS. I'm here today to inform our customers as we approach the high fire risk season. This meeting's timely as we had a close call on Friday with the fire at Lynx Lake, and it's moments like this it becomes critical that APS works with our emergency management and first responders to ensure that we can de-energize and protect our first responders, or de-energize our equipment to protect our first responders.
We are having trouble, but the presentation up there for council to get this going.
Okay.
Gotta warm it up. There we go. We're going to start with our core values. So reliability and safety are number one for APS. It's in our core values as a company, in each of our employees, and it's shown by our results of being top quartile in reliability and top decile in safety. The only thing more important to us as a company than reliability is safety for our customers and our communities. Arizona, especially northern Arizona, face a heightened wildfire threat due in part to more residential developments in the forest or continued build out of the wildland-urban interface. I'm here to tell you what APS is doing to support public safety in coordination with the first responders and forest management agencies. This is not new to APS. For a number of years, we have completed these fire risk reduction measures, and every year we work on maintaining and clearing our right-of-ways for our equipment to ensure that we mitigate the fuels around our infrastructure. These are examples of some of the robust programs that we have in place, and I'll detail more over the next few slides. We don't own the right-of-way, so we can't control what's planted there. However, we work with the owners to appropriately space the vegetation. Historically, our utility right-of-way have been heavily used by the fire service as a fire break, so it becomes even more important that we keep these clear. Our defensible space around poles, or DSAP program, is just like it sounds, similar to the defensible space around your homes. And we also complete a pole-by-pole inspection on every distribution feeder in a 4-year cycle, and each troubleman's required to sign off that they certify that they've reported all concerns on every pole. This is a picture of the DSAP program at work. So this is from the Tinder fire in Payson. It shows a pole that is perfectly intact and still standing after a fire came through and took all the other vegetation, and that is a wood pole. That question came up before. We take these programs very seriously and have seen them work firsthand, and this is an example of that. Switch gears a little bit to our customer programs. This is information from our website. I want to point out the public safety hotline, and if any of you or any of your constituents see something that looks unsafe, please report it to our public safety hotline or to our phone number or any of the APS folks. As mentioned earlier, we conduct public safety line patrols on overhead equipment in heavy WUI areas and heavily vegetated areas. So that's over 2,800 miles across the state of distribution lines, and 1,200 of those are in Yavapai County, so a vast majority of them. So during these, we physically walk down every line with the use of drones, UTVs, and by foot to put eyes on the condition of every piece of equipment. Additionally, some of you may have heard me speak last year, and we're reinstating the same measures to possibly interrupt service and increase our operations protocols so that before re-energizing lines, we can ensure our first responders patrol sections of the line with additional rigor during outages in the high fire risk areas throughout the summer months. While reliability is something we pride ourselves on at APS, we recognize that this could prolong outages in the area. But as mentioned before, we prioritize the safety of our customers and community above the reliability of our services. However, we're also leveraging more technology and strategically installing over 400 fault indicators across the system. So technical term, they're a little blinky light on the line that indicate the location of the fault and signal the trouble, even in the middle of the night or in the middle of the forest. We realize that any disruption of power is a major inconvenience to our customers, and so we're trying to get the word out this year in as many different ways to communicate the reasons behind these changes and ensure our customers are communicated with and know the tools available as much as possible. We will be sending letters to all customers in areas of higher fire risk based on their proximity to the WUI and the forest, and that will include safety and fire-wise tips, as well as a notification that they could experience longer than normal outages. Additionally, I'd like to remind customers to sign up for emergency alerts on their phones through the Nixle app, where you can select your zip code and get local emergency alerts. Also, you can download, this is a picture of the APS app, or go to aps.com to access our outage map, which includes updates and estimated restoration times for outages, and you can sign up for text alerts for outages specific to your home or business. However, contrary to popular belief, we don't automatically know when you're out of power, so please call and report it. And if you do download the app, it's a quick one-click button to report through the app if you are out of power. And the more people that report, the quicker we are able to identify and prioritize the outages on the system, especially during a storm. Apologize, I'm getting over a cold, so. Here's some tips on what to do during an outage. So please, number one, do not go near or approach downed power lines. Please stay away at least 100 feet. Also, a little known fact, food can keep fresh up to 8 hours in a fridge or 24 hours in a freezer if you don't open the door. Also, in the event of a sustained outage, APS will set up ice stations or offer ice reimbursements so that you can put that in your freezer to keep the food fresh. I do have some magnets and some other information in the back here that I will leave for customers if they're interested. That's all I have. Any questions?
Well, thank you, Mackenzie. Always good to see you, and it's a great partnership with APS. Appreciate what you do in our community. I always see your logo on many different events around town, so thanks for your partnership and your sponsorship here in the city. Questions, comments from the council? All right. Well, fire season apparently is already on us, as we saw at Lynx Lake, so thanks for the info. All right, let's move on to consent agenda. Maureen, I think you have one update on the consent.
I do. Item 8B, there's an error on that one. It was properly noticed, and the resolution in the packet is correct. However, the resolution on the agenda should read adopt number 2019, or resolution number 2019-1686, providing notice of the primary and general elections to be held on August 27th, 2019 and November 5th, 2019, respectively, and authorizing the city clerk to enter into any agreements necessary to provide services for such elections. So that is a correction on that, but it was properly noticed.
Okay, thank you. Any member want to pull anything from consent?
Yes, Mayor. I'd like to pull item D from consent, please.
Okay. Anything else? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve consent agenda items 8A through 8F, excluding 8D.
Second.
Motion and second. Please vote.
Councilman Blair? Here. Passes 7-0.
All right. We're going to go to item 8D, and I'm going to step out on this one.
Councilman Good?
Yeah, I just decided to pull this not for any particular opposition, but I felt that amendment to a developmental agreement with the city needs to have maximum transparency. So I'd like to clarify and have the city manager describe what the actual amendment is to the original agreement, and also any comment on any costs that would be associated with this change to the taxpayers.
Councilman Good, I'd be glad to have a conversation a little bit about this issue or this item. Initially in the development agreement, the idea was that the developer, in this case Dr. Ascari, was going to have the work performed associated with this item, and then the city would reimburse Dr. Ascari. However, for a variety of reasons, the determination has been made that the preferable methodology would be for us to just go ahead and perform the work. There is no change in the amount of money associated with the item. The city was going to pay for the upgrades to the system regardless. It's just a matter of timing and not going through a reimbursement process.
So it was my understanding that he originally was going to pay for the public section of this utility extension.
That's
beyond
correct.
His property.
And charge the city
Right.
for the reimbursement for that section.
So we're just changing the
Really the delivery methodology.
rather than reimbursing it, and then the city will be building the infrastructure according to city standards and not have to oversee a private developer.
That's 100% correct. And the idea that it'll cost more or less is probably, it's not a real concern. It'll probably come out in the wash.
All right, I just wanted to make sure that that was clear and the public understood the reason for that, that item. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Can I have a motion?
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to adopt resolution number 2019-16787, First Amendment to Whispering Rock in their pre-annexation and development agreement, city contract number 2019-101A1.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Passes 6-0.
I'm going to take, the mayor had a yes up there, but you didn't count it, so okay.
All right, let's move on to item 9A, please.
Mayor and council, the next 4 items are new liquor license applications, all of which have been determined to be in compliance with city requirements and are being recommended for approval. The application fees have been paid and the applications have been posted at each site for the required 20 days. Each liquor license will need to be voted on separately. So the first liquor license, 9A1, is a public hearing and consideration for a new Series 12 restaurant liquor license from Lisa Beth Lucidi, applicant for Lucy D's Barbecue, located at 669 East Sheldon Street. And is she in attendance today? You want to come on up and tell us about your business?
We're excited about all the work you're doing there on that building.
I'm sure it's been well noticed.
Yeah, it's looking good.
It is. It's totally different. We're very happy. We're very excited about opening it. I can't give you a date. I know it's not this week and probably not next week, but I'm very excited about opening it. It's our 15th restaurant, so I'm not new. Well, I'm old, but I'm not new to the restaurant business. My husband is a general contractor, and it's going to be just beautiful inside and outside.
Nice.
Thank you for investing in our community.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Where are your other stores?
I have 3 in the Valley, and we've had them in San Diego. We're originally from Michigan, 26 years in San Diego, and then we moved out to Arizona in 2008 and up to Prescott in 2016.
Nice.
I've done just about everything, but restaurants have always fallen back on. So,
Well, welcome to Prescott.
well, thank you, and I can't wait till you all try it.
Well, neither can we.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. All right, we'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move.
Oh, go ahead, Billy,
Steve.
please. No, you.
Okay. Mayor, I move to close public hearing.
Second.
Motion and second, please vote.
Passes 7-0.
Mayor, I move to approve recommendation for liquor license application number 52689 for a new Series 12 restaurant liquor license for Lucy D's BBQ Barbecue, location 669 East Sheldon Street.
Second.
Motion and second, please vote.
Passes 7-0.
All right, thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. All right, let's move on to item, number 2.
Public hearing and consideration for a new Series 12 restaurant liquor license from Mark William Marinis, applicant for Carmelas, located at 118 to 120 North Montezuma Street. Are you here today? You want to come on up?
Hello, my name's Kevin Cook. I'm a partner with Mark in this business. Carmelas is going to be Mediterranean and fresh fish, pretty much. So we're going to be flying some fresh fish in, and
Great.
breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We're probably 6 weeks out. So
6 weeks till you open, is that what you said? Yeah.
we're going to try to do quicker. We're going to try to do Mother's Day, but we have hood issues, so
So is this where the old El Charro was?
yes, sir.
Okay. And you're taking over both places?
Yes, sir. Yep.
And could you tell us a little bit more about what kind of format you're going to use?
Basically, the bar is going to be, it's not going to be a brew hall, but it's going to have some Italian flair to it, Mediterranean flair. I'll have limoncellos type things, nice wine list. And then in the dining room, we'll be doing a lot of different things, paellas, fresh fish, some Northern Italian, some French, a little bit. I've been in the business 45 years in hotels, so I can pretty much do whatever I have to do, whatever you guys want. So that's one thing we will do is adapt. So it's a work in progress. It'll look totally different than when you walk in.
Well, thanks for investing in the city. We really appreciate getting that downtown business, that location used, which is...
It's great bones.
Yeah, no, it's a great location, and we're really happy that you're in there. Love the Italian flair on it, by the way, just personally. But thanks so much for your investment.
Thank you.
We'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion and second, please vote.
Passes 7-0.
Mayor, I move to approve recommendation for liquor license application number 53266 for a new Series 12 restaurant liquor license for Carmelas located at 118 through 120 North Montezuma Street.
Second.
Motion and second, please vote.
Passes 7-0.
All right, thank you. Let's move on to item 3.
Item 3 and 4 are kind of together, but you also will still need to vote on them separately. So it's a public hearing and consideration for a new Series 12 restaurant liquor license and also a Series 3 in-state microbrewery liquor license from Laura K. Merritt, application for Lazy G Brew House located at 220 West LaRue Street.
Okay, applicant here.
Lauren is not here. I'm Jim Bellington, the owner. Lauren is acting as our agent, but
Yeah, come on up. Mayor Pro Tem and I drove by there yesterday, and the building's looking tremendous. It's a very large building you got there. I love it.
it's big, a lot of volume inside, high ceilings all throughout, a large open space. Going to look and feel very much like a brewery, but we're more than that. Restaurant, have a full menu for lunch and dinner. We'll be serving other beverages other than just beer. We'll be crafting our own beer on premise, and that's the Series 3 license. We'll also be serving some other craft beer from around the state and other parts of the country. Offering wine as well, cider, mead, and so forth. Very anxious to get it open. The winter was tough on anyone who was doing construction this year. So we're working quickly to try to make up a little bit of that time. We don't really have an opening date circled on the calendar as yet. We would love to be open before the July 4th weekend, but we'll see how that goes. We've got a lot of different subcontractors working literally side by side inside the building, trying to get things accomplished. We have our chef on board, our brewer on board. Got everything lined up, ready to go. We just need to, finish the construction, and can't wait to welcome everyone to the Lazy G here in the next couple of months.
So is this your first brew house?
It is. Been in the hospitality business my entire life, working for hotel companies and golf companies. Been around food and beverage quite a bit, but this is our first venture in owning our own restaurant and brewery. We've owned the site that's there. Was the Lazy G Trailer Park. That's where the name comes from. So it was Lazy G Trailer Park since 1945. We actually had a house on the property that was from 1940 that we didn't want to see going to the landfill. And I don't know if anyone ever saw any of the photographs or was out late one night and saw the house driving down Cortez to its new home over on Lincoln. So we saved the house and we donated it, and there'll be some folks living in that house in the future. But the site, we wanted to maintain a little bit of the history of the property. So we retained the name Lazy G from trailer park to brew house. And we incorporated a trailer, an old 1958 trailer, into our logo. So it's pretty exciting for us. We hope to be a little bit of a catalyst to maybe see some more growth on this south end of the Granite Creek corridor there in the business district. So hopefully we'll see, we may be the anchor on that south end, and hopefully we can see things develop, all the way down to Willis or wherever the northern boundary is there.
Yeah, that's exactly what I commented to Mayor Pro Tem the other day when we drove through there, is that this is going to be the south anchor on the Granite Creek trail system, and that's going to serve you well because it's a short walk to El Gato Azul or whatever, just up in that area. So
It's a beautiful spot, and your building looks great. It seems like just a few months ago that we did the groundbreaking.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
congratulations.
moving quickly now, thankfully.
well, thanks so much. Thanks for your investment in the city. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you. All right, let's, we have 4 motions here, Maureen, is that right?
That's correct.
All right, so we'll buzz through these here. Entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion and second, please vote.
Passes 7-0.
Mayor, I move to approve recommendation for liquor license application number 53263 for a new Series 12 restaurant liquor license for Lazy G Brewhouse located at 220 West LaRue Street.
Second. Motion and second, please vote.
Passes 7-0.
Mayor, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion and second, please vote.
Passes 7-0.
Mayor, I move to approve recommendation for liquor license application number 53277 for a new Series 3 in-state microbrewery liquor license for Lazy G Brewhouse located at 220 West LaRue Street.
Second.
We have a motion and second, please vote.
Passes 7-0.
All right. We have a new microbrewery. It's good. All right. Regular agenda, item 10A, please.
Public hearing for City of Prescott's Community Development Block Grant Program Draft PY 2019 Annual Action Plan.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Bryn Stotler, Director of Community Development. I just want to say, too, about Lazy G's, that's walkable from my house, so
Yes.
that's a pretty sweet situation. We've been very excited to see that construction occurring as well. Well, as you all know or may know, it is that CDBG time of year, and I am here with staff and some members of our Citizens Advisory Council to recap recent activities of the Citizens Advisory Committee and give you a snapshot of where we are today. Several meetings ago, the Citizens Advisory Committee opened a public hearing on our this year's applicants, and we also have some applicants in the audience who are here to monitor these proceedings as well. Before we get started, I want to acknowledge that we have some CAC members among us, and I'd like to point out that our chairman, Jerry Jones, is in the audience, as well as former Councilwoman Marianne Suttles, who is one of our members, and Sandy Griffiths of YCCA. So you'll be hearing from Jerry a little bit later in the presentation, but sorry, and Connie. I didn't see you come in. Connie can tell me, also a member on our CAC. Before Jerry speaks, though, we're going to introduce you to one of our new staff members. Some of you may have already met her, but her name is Michelle Chavez, and she is our new CDBG Program Coordinator, doing a fabulous job. She's going to kick off the presentation.
Thank you, Bryn. Mayor and council members, again, my name is Michelle Chavez, and I am the CDBG Program Coordinator for the City of Prescott. Just have a few slides to share with you today, just a summary kind of where we're at with the program. As you know, CDBG is a federally funded HUD entitlement community program. Prescott was designated by HUD in 2003 as an entitlement community. We receive approximately $258,000 per year, and our allocation is divided up based on HUD requirements. So 65% is for construction-based projects, 20% for administration, and 15% for public service. Since 2014, the City of Prescott has allocated approximately $1.1 million to various programs in the community and projects in the community. So the primary goals of the federal CDBG program are threefold: to develop viable urban communities through provisions of decent, safe, sanitary housing, a suitable living environment, and to expand economic development opportunities primarily for low to moderate income persons. How the Prescott CDBG program works: these are competitive grant funds. They're currently awarded on an annual funding cycle. They've been traditionally awarded to nonprofit and public facility-based programs and projects. 70% of the funds, again, must be spent on low to moderate income residents, and Prescott typically spends about 100% on low to moderate income residents. The CDBG Prescott grants are based upon recommendations from a 7-member Community Advisory Council, who we have members here today, and Jerry Jones is going to help me with the presentation. They look at the applications and have public meetings with the applicants to discuss potential funding, and then they will make a recommendation to the City Council today through the annual action plan. All of the projects and services must meet HUD federal objectives and eligibility means tests. And we have an excellent program to leverage CDBG funds to reach our five-year consolidated plan goals. So attached to the council agenda, there was also a 14-page annual action plan. That's what we're proposing today to take public comment on. That annual action plan is 14 pages, and it includes the proposed funding allocations. It also includes the 5-year consolidated plan goals. So just to give you some quick examples of projects that we've funded in the past through the City of Prescott CDBG program, we've done several ADA restroom renovations at public facilities. So at the Boys and Girls Club is ongoing right now, and we also upgraded the Grace Sparks Recreation Services bathrooms. We've been providing transportation services for aging and disabled populations. We've done infrastructure programs in LMI neighborhoods, such as the Dexter neighborhood, where we replace sidewalks and street lighting. We do services for homeless and shelter improvements. And we've also done parks and trails improvements, like at the Granite Creek restoration area. So now I'm going to turn it over to our chair of our Citizen Advisory Committee, Jerry Jones, and he's going to talk about the proposed projects for 2019.
Thank you. Mayor, Council, appreciate the opportunity to present our suggestions this year for the CDBG allocation of funds. One of us here is Mary Ann Suttles. She's the vice chair and appropriately named that for our group. We have a great group, and we have our councilman, who's our liaison, Phil Good, who's been a tremendous asset to us, and we want to thank you for your assistance this year, Phil. Thank you much. We had 9 applications this year, which is about apropos for a year, anywhere between 9 and 15. And even though it's on the skinny side, we had $258,000 to play with. $37,700 of it is for public service, which is non-brick and mortar type projects, and then the rest of it to construction projects and 20% for administration. We came up out of the 9 projects presented to us with 6, 3 in each category, 3 in the public service, and I'll discuss those a little bit with you, but then Mary Ann will tell you about the construction projects too. The public service projects were West Yavapai Guidance Clinics, and by the way, all of these people have been before us and received monies from us in the past. So we're not dealing with newbies in this thing and have to run them through the process. So with the new administrator, and she's fantastic, she's doing a great job, it does take the burden off of some of the administration to have people that know what they're doing in there when they come to us, because that educational process is extensive. West Yavapai Guidance Clinic Senior Peer Program got $22,000, as you can see there, and the People Who Care, a transportation outfit, got 10. Both of those are the full amount that they asked for. The launch pad got the balance, which was $6,373. So that's how we looked at the agencies. The other one in there for them was another launch pad request, and we turned it down. It didn't fit in at all. This is an ongoing process. I say this is the initial recommendation because as we go through this process, as you know, we vet right up to funding to make sure that these people still comply with it to the point where we do give them the monies. And if they don't meet environmental standards and they don't do their financing the way that they're supposed to do it, if they don't submit them right in the first place, they don't get this far. But we watch them all the way through to the funding process so that we're using our funds properly. And we're also taking a good hard look more and more. As much as I personally don't like to give monies for salaries for nonprofits, some of them they're accepted by HUD, and they want them to fund those projects, and a lot of this is salaries for directors and training. So, you know, that's what we've looked at very strongly. It's a committee, it comes together on these recommendations 100%. So it's a great thing to come to you and know that we have the confidence in what we decided on. Mary Ann, you want to talk about construction?
Not necessarily. I was here to support you.
That's Prescott there.
CDBG is not an easy program to do. There's an awful lot of hoops you have to jump through. That's why we continue to see the same groups coming back, because they know what the process is. We constantly look as a board, as a group, for those new nonprofits, 501c3, somebody to come to us. But again, they have to meet the metrics. So getting to construction, and this again, these choices are done by a vote. There's so many points. We take that out and X amount. The construction had to do with PASS, which was Prescott area shelters. They're growing up, I should say. They're putting a second floor in, and they're still in the midst of construction and bids. The U.S. Vets came to us because it's really a good project over, and we're doing something with them on heating and cooling, and they've come before us before. And then again, the Coalition of Compassion and Justice, CCJ. They're in more of a youth learning path, and we've been working with them. But each one of these categories were selected by the members on that board. So with that, we'd like to present it to you.
Well, thank you. Thanks for your service on the advisory committee, all of you that are here today. I appreciate your work on that. And yeah, any questions, comments from the council? Councilman Lamerson?
Thank you very much. I would like to take the personal opportunity to thank both Mary and Jerry. You were there at the onset. You were there to help us, Mary, on this council to get us an entitlement city status. Jerry, you were one of the first ones that jumped in the bucket to help us with the initial grants and the structure for the grant process here in the city of Prescott. And I wanted to thank you both for all these years, and I mean literally years, that you served on this committee for the city. Thank you very much.
Councilman, we appreciate that recognition. Thank you.
Other questions, comments from the council?
Yeah, I'll just make a comment. We were out, and I forgot where we were, Michael, and we were with another community, small community, that was not able to divide theirs up this way. They had to do theirs all in one chunk. It was Cottonwood, thank you. And I really like the way that you guys have divided this up so that you're able to help more people in our community. And they did not do that because they don't administer their own program. Because we administer our program, we're able to do that. So I know it's a lot of work, like you said, Mary Ann, but it really makes a difference to our city. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Was this started in 03? Is that what you guys, somebody said, 2003?
We had to
It's close
you know,
to it.
take us down memory lane. We don't want to remember that part.
Well,
Go ahead, Jerry.
Well, Councilman Lamerson had an ad hoc committee with the chamber way before that, 10 years before that or so, and that's when I first met him. And of course, he taught me how to play racquetball, which was a mistake. But we learned a lot about, that was when we really pushed for affordable housing, even back then. So.
Yeah, this has been a progress in work for, like Jerry was saying, about 20 years. We've been working on this, and it came into fruition where we got our actual entitlement status was in 03, I believe. And we've gone through a lot of staff members. We've gone through a lot of committee members. These two, along with our director for Yavapai County, don't you be hiding back there, Sandy, Contractors Association, on doing a lot of the things that have helped a lot of federal dollars come back to the city of Prescott in helping in areas that really needed to be upgraded. So, anyway.
Well, just, since 03, you're talking about, I don't know, $3 million more that's been invested in the city through CDBG, roughly. Yeah, it's a good amount of money. So thanks again. Councilman Good.
Yeah, I just wanted to assure the council and the public at large how much really diligent work that the committee has put into these projects, vetting them, making sure that the benefits are as broadly experienced in the community as possible, and making sure that the tax dollars are well spent, and we're really getting some true valuable improvements in community services and construction. So thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions, comments from the council? Any public comment on this one? Okay. let's see, this is a public hearing. What do we need to do here?
Mayor, it's just you open a public hearing. There's no decision by the council today. After the public comments, you close the public hearing, just like we would a liquor license.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Mayor, I make the motion to close the public hearing.
Hold on, you have to ask to see if there's any members of the public first.
I thought.
Well, I did ask.
Asked about that.
Oh, did
Yeah,
you?
no speaker cards.
Okay,
Yep,
I wasn't
I
paying
did.
attention, sorry.
Yep.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and second to close the public hearing. Please vote.
Passes 7-0.
All right. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you all on the committee. Appreciate it. All right. I believe we're down to a legislative update, or up to a legislative update, I should say. Sorry. So your birthday was what, yesterday?
It was.
Mr. Goodman turned 21.
I told you 23 and you believed me. It's 29, so that's
All
pretty
right.
close. But
Looking good for 29.
well, thank you.
Shaved anyway.
Yeah. So the process is obviously still going. Right now, the overarching theme is the House and the Senate are talking budget, but there are a few things going on. As Mayor Pro Tem mentioned yesterday, the governor signed the HandsFree Bill, no texting while driving bill, whatever you want to call it, which is a great success, I think. It took a lot of work and a few scares at the end, but it came through. We've been talking about it for a while. It mirrors very similarly what we have as a city ordinance here. You can't be holding your cell phone. It should be mounted to your dash, hands-free, Bluetooth, all those elements. There are a few small differences. One of them is the fee structure. But as I discussed the last council meeting, we can continue to enforce what we have on our books until January 1st, 2021. That includes writing citations. Right now, if cities did not have something in place, they could adopt the state law and give warnings, but no citations. So I guess there could be a decision or direction from council. There's an option of either keeping what we have, or you could buy into the state law. And apparently the way it's written, you could continue to cite even under the state law because we had it previous to the bill passing. So that could be a discussion point if you'd like to consider it.
Yeah, I wanted Mr. Palladini to speak to this just a little bit because I want to make sure the council understands the options we have here in front of us of either status quo and what happens versus adopting the state.
So as you know, the state bill was adopted by emergency clause, and the primary reason for that is to get MVD and ADOT to now start requiring on driver's tests questions about hands-free use. So that was kind of the purpose of the emergency clause. Other than that, Tyler's correct. The law goes into effect. The hands-free law goes into effect, the state law, but it's warning only until 1 January 2021, which is a year and a half away, give or take. So in the meantime, the state allows local governments that have ordinances or code in place to continue to enforce the local law, the city code, for hands-free. Really the only difference, our fine for a first-time offense is $100 for a first offense, and subsequent offenses are up to $2,500, and it's within a 12-month period. The state is between 75 and 149 for an initial, at least 150, not more than 250 for a second or subsequent violation. So there's a little bit of a difference in the fine. The other, I guess, substantive difference is that under our code, you have to essentially be parked to find the exemption. Our language says unless it says so operating a motor vehicle includes being on a highway or street, and includes temporarily stopped because of traffic light or stop sign or otherwise, but excludes when the vehicle is pulled over to the side of the road or off a roadway and has stopped at a location which the vehicle can safely remain stationary. So essentially parked. We didn't use the term in park because there are still cars that are manual transmission. The state law allows a car to be parked or stopped. So as you kind of recall, the discussion there was, well, if I'm at a train crossing and I'm stopped, or I'm at a traffic light and I'm stopped, can I then use my phone? And the public debate was, yeah, you can. It's not specifically laid out, but that's the difference between parked and stopped. So ours is a little bit more stringent, I would say. And my take on this is that it's sort of not real clear if we adopted something that mirrored state law. Well, put it this way. We have an ordinance in place or a code in place. We don't need to adopt the state law to enforce hands-free and cite at the officer's discretion. And it really has the same effect, if you will, so that, we have a hands-free law in place at the city level. My recommendation would be to leave ours in place. Once January 1, 2021 rolls around, our code automatically is repealed. The city becomes non-effective, and the state law goes into effect, at which point a citation would occur under state law. We would probably repeal ours just to clean up our code, but it wouldn't be necessary because state law preempts. So recommendation is remain status quo with the city code until January 2021.
Yeah, thanks for that. And then in addition to that information, the nearly retired Dave Fuller gave me information on warnings and citations. There's been 86 warnings since November 23, and there's been 15 citations and 1 accident as a result of distracted driving.
And the state law does have a pretty significant, makes an accident a class 1 misdemeanor. We don't really deal with that because there's other things that the police officer could cite for if you cause an accident, failing to control speed or other things that can be cited in addition. And then, as you also know, there is a bill the governor hasn't committed on signing, which is sort of a generic or broad distracted driving type bill that doesn't conflict with this bill. So if the governor signs that, there'll be sort of 2, one specific for sort of preventative, hands-free, and another would be distracted. That if the officer sees someone doing something, moving between lines or driving in a kind of an erratic way, and it turns out they're not driving under the influence, they're simply distracted by makeup or cheeseburgers or kids or dogs, they could be cited under the sort of the broader, but that's yet to be determined whether the governor's going to sign that one.
Councilman Good, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I would support that we maintain our enacted statute, and I think it's much easier for people over this period of time to become conditioned not to be using their cell phone, and if there's a slight relaxation in the requirements once the state law goes into effect, it'll be easier for people to adapt rather than having to tighten up or learn these new habits later on. So I think we should maintain what we have.
Any other comments on Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, Mayor. I had someone call and ask about how are we going to let our tourists know? And so will we be doing extra things before tourist season begins? I know we have signs, and then we have the little pamphlet, but will there be other things that we can do to?
Well, interestingly enough, if you're a tourist from outside of Arizona, you're probably already from a hands-free place.
Guess I was thinking more from the valley.
Right, but we do have signage out there, and we did talk about perhaps working with our hospitality folks to put in signs or flyers in the hotels and things. I think we talked with John Heine about that a little bit. So there are some educational tools. But I think with the mayor's statistics, you can see their officers using pretty good discretion in terms of warnings versus actual citations. And I suspect that the citations are probably, when you're getting cited, something else is probably going on as opposed to driving safely. There's probably some erratic type driving going on too, or an accident.
Well, I was going to say, I would imagine, Chief is going to allow a little discretion if you're from out of town. Not that anyone here can use that if you get pulled over, but that could be a part of it too.
Yeah,
On a traffic stop, you could, if you're from Phoenix and if you feel like they didn't really know, then you could.
Well, that's pretty impressive. 86. Good job.
Those are written.
Those are written warnings. Okay. Probably there were a few
Yeah,
other
there's-
verbal.
There's a few,
Very
yeah,
nice, yeah.
probably several dozen verbals as well. All right, anything else on this particular topic? I think we're still tracking on legislative updates since this is new legislation. We've nearly successfully hijacked your presentation here.
Okay with that. You want to go to the next one on your list. This has had a lot of significant movement. House Bill 2702. This goes back to creating that nexus for the online remote sellers out of state. They're selling into Arizona online remotely. And just as way of a background, the Model City Tax Code, the league was working on this all throughout this year so far. It was amended back in February by the Model City Tax Code Commission to conform its definition of retail to that of the states. And this was done to create that path for equity in Arizona to be able to get the online remote sellers to remit TPT, transaction privilege tax. And this was done to create that so there was no confusion and that it would be a seamless transition there. Last week there were amendments to this bill, and it was quiet for almost a couple months. And the league was not aware of these things until they came out. So number one, and these are just the major ones, there were changes. It changes the economic nexus threshold from currently at $100,000. So if I'm a remote seller under the old model of the bill, I'd have to sell at least $100,000 worth of goods in order to start being liable to remit TPT to the state. Well, they want to change that to $200,000 for this year, $150,000 for 2020, and then reducing it down to $100,000 in 2021 and going forward. Number two, it put the retail section of the Model City Tax Code in state statute. And then number three, it says that retail is an issue of statewide concern. So the bullet point number two, that it would put the retail section of the Model City Tax Code into state statute, was a big red flag. That's pretty unprecedented. It's something that the league had been saying all along. If that's part of the consideration, we're going to say no to this bill. But they've done a lot of discussing and thinking and asking and trying to work through a solution for this. And you'll see below what the league is now requesting. And you might be surprised, but we'll talk about why. They will allow the retail section of the Model City Tax Code to be included in state statute if the statute will include that cities and towns may tax certain things: textbooks at college bookstores, feed and fertilizer sold at feed stores, fine art sold at auction houses, food for home consumption, that's a big one. And then removing the language saying that retail is of statewide concern, and then establishing a 7-year moratorium on any further attacks or affronts on the Model City Tax Code. And you might be asking why. What would be the benefit of allowing the state to take in that section, the retail section of the Model City Tax Code? Well, number one, in this process of changing the definition, they also agreed, in order to get Wayfair implemented and this bill done, because it's going to benefit cities and towns throughout the state for now and forever, they said we will conform so that there is that equality and there's no question for the remote online sellers, there's not going to be an opportunity to challenge it. We will conform to the state definition of retail. That could include exemptions, changes, things like that. So they already agreed to do that without putting in a state statute. So in practice, it was going to happen anyways in order for this to occur. And then also, it's the goodwill. It's showing that cities and towns could have killed this bill on this one principle, most likely, but that we're team players, that we want to see this done, and that it wasn't really going to make a difference in the bottom line anyways. It also would assure that there's 7 years of a moratorium on any future attacks, at least for that period, on the Model City Tax Code. The league shared that they spoke with President Fan, Speaker Bowers, who were very appreciative of this, very happy that the league was even considering allowing this to happen. And so far, this is their plan and strategy, is to present this. And in fact, there was already so much support for the bill as amended without the league even talking about these things that it was almost going to be put on an agenda to be heard this week. Once they heard the league was willing to step up and discuss and actually include some of these things, they put it on hold and said, okay, we'll include you. Let's make this work together. So it still hasn't been heard on the floor. The amendments haven't been adopted yet. But with this expectation that the league is willing to move forward with these items, it'll probably happen sooner than later within the next week or two. So I wanted to bring this to your attention. It's a very drastic change into the normal approach, And I wanted to get your feedback as well, if you have it, if I can share anything back to the League of Cities and Towns.
Questions, comments from the council?
Mayor, so it sounds like that this is consensus. There was working together with the league, because I know initially I wrote that one letter, say, if this goes in statute, please don't go for it. However, the league has stepped up and said, okay, in order to get this done.
Yes, because in practice it was going to happen anyways, whether it was officially under state statute, the retail section, whether it was under state statute or not. In practice, it was going to happen because they agreed to language saying if there's a discrepancy between state statute and our model city tax code on retail, state statute prevails. So in practice, it would have happened anyways.
Okay.
Any other comments? All right.
Okay. And then I'll go quickly through the next page. There's just a few bills left that we're tracking. The big ones, the vacation rental, that's actually going to be heard on the Senate floor this week. And there's enough support, they believe, that the governor will sign it. The next, the landlord-tenant state preemption, is a bad bill overall for cities, and it's still progressing, but it's still waiting to be heard in the Senate Committee of the Whole. Jumping down, Senate Bill 1001, the highway safety fee repeal. That, again, would get rid of the fee, which would then circle back, maybe affect HERF. Governor doesn't like it. But there's still, it barely passed out of committee. They had 2 committees in the House and barely passed out of rules yesterday. So it's just waiting to be heard with the Committee of the Whole in the House. We'll see if there's broad support in the House. I don't really know, and I haven't heard yet. We'll see if it gets through. Digital goods, that's been really quiet as well. It's been in this situation for at least 3 to 4 weeks, just awaiting to be heard by the Senate as a whole. We're still tracking it, but it's been pretty quiet with other budget and bigger bills on the docket. And then 2047, the HERF distribution, this would help cities a lot. And the math shows that, at least the estimate is that this would help us positively with an extra $276,000 approximately. So that's passed through the House and through Senate committee, and it's just awaiting for the Senate rules to hear it. And then obviously the state budget, hotshot funding and terminal funding, nothing new on this. They're still meeting in small groups. Not a whole lot of communication between chambers yet, but that's probably going to change here quickly, and then they'll start to talk nitty-gritty and get together on the budget to get something to the governor. So that's all I have, unless there's any questions.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, so Tyler, I talked with Nick Bonder yesterday with the league. So I-17 is in the governor's budget. So if the $32 fee goes down, excuse me, allergies. Nick is talking about how that may be made up so that I-17 stays and will still get done. Do you have any feedback on that?
I don't. That's something that at least I haven't heard discussed.
Because the $32 is necessary for the governor's budget.
Yes.
To get I-17. So.
And for a lot of things, in order to keep HERF
That's
stable, so that cities and towns can do road projects. There's a lot hinging on that, and I think that's why the governor's saying he's an absolutely no, but of course there's the option for them to take it back and get a super majority to vote. So.
And then he couldn't veto it.
Right.
Any other questions, comments for Tyler? All right, thank you very much. Before we adjourn, we'll do a quote from Ronald Reagan. Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same. Thank you, Ronald Reagan. This meeting is adjourned.